So I'm currently down 40 pounds and I have another 40 still to lose. I've been strength training and walking, but feel like I need to incorporate more than just walking for cardio. How much cardio do you recommend me starting with, and how much should I work up to? We'll be diving into this and so much more in today's Q&A episode. This is a great question. I think it's incredible to lose that amount of weight and to still have obviously more goals and to be you're doing a lot of great things. You're strength training, you're walking, you're kind of at the point where you're ready to add in more things, which is awesome. So cardio, we've talked about many of times, and it's super important for everybody for just overall heart health, endurance. There's so many benefits to it. And while we also love walking, it's not necessarily cardio for most people. So it is important to implement that specific style of training. ACSM, the recommendation is 5 days per week of moderate intensity cardio. And then you can do, I think it's 2 days per week of more vigorous cardio. So it kind of depends on if you want to implement or really what you enjoy as far as cardio goes. So if you're somebody who likes more of the high intensity work that you can get done in a faster time, then that's fine. Or if you like to kind of take it low and slow, that's also fine too. What you're doing there kind of depends, but I would say even just starting with 1 day per week, if you're not doing anything right now, just start with one session and implement that consistently, and then you can build upon that from there.
I would agree with that. Kind of similar. I'd actually maybe love to do this as a topic next week, but the event that I was at over the weekend, there was a researcher speaking, Dr. Martin Gabala, who was speaking specifically about current research on interval training and HIIT versus zone 2. And like when going apples to apples of HIIT versus zone 2, it was showing essentially how much more efficient HIIT is than the same amount of zone 2. So we could do like a whole deep dive on this, but because you're already getting in potentially a lot of walking and are doing that lower intensity kind of cardio, if you will, in walking, I would prefer someone in your position to add in like 1 to 2 HIIT sessions, and start with 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe you work that up to 15 to 20 minutes, but some sort of higher intensity interval training that you could start working in. And I would add, like Alessandra said, 1 to 2 sessions per week, see how that feels within your schedule, within your performance, within your recoverability. And then you could always scale up from there based on how you're feeling. But my biggest piece of advice would be to not do too much too soon. Like don't go in, add 5 days a week of cardio. Start slow, add 1 to 2 sessions per week, see how that feels, and adjust from there.
For sure. She's already crushing it, obviously down 40 pounds. You've got a great initial balance, and now it sounds like you're ready to level it up a little bit further, which is great to hear. But agree with the points on all fronts. It's just start, even if it's a day, 1 day, 10 minutes, see how you recover, see how your next workout is, add that second day in, and then maybe rather than add a third, extend those first 2. So we stay at 2 HIIT sessions a week. We go from 10 to 15. The following week, maybe we maintain, and then the next week, maybe it goes from that 15 to the 20. And just, again, really, really monitor biofeedback. Are you sleeping well? Are you recovering well? Is hunger still in a reasonable place? Like, are you able to consume the same number of calories? How is weight loss responding over the course of the next 3 to 4 weeks? So little things to pay attention to as you gradually implement something. But again, we talk about this almost every episode. There's no one right way to do this. There are general guidelines, but it's really going to come down to that individualized, that personalized approach as far as how you're going to respond most efficiently, which is the most critical component. Efficiency in regards to your ROI. What are you doing? What are you putting in versus what you're getting out? And what is this taking away from? If it's a smaller to do, like 10 minutes of HIIT, ideally that takes away less.
Love it. All right. Danielle asked us question on tricep and shoulder work. I've been using the same 15-pound weights for years in things like tricep kickbacks and the same 10-pound weights for lateral raises, front raises. If I cannot progress my weight, does that mean I'm doing something wrong? It's only for those things that I can't seem to progress. Thank you. I mean, I have also, I feel like I have been using the same lateral raise weights for forever. Occasionally I can go a little bit heavier on them, but it's not uncommon. I will say that.
You also picked, she mentioned 2 exercises that are smaller muscles that
Tiny
do take
muscles.
much longer to progress, like both a lateral raise and she mentioned like a dumbbell tricep kickback, right?
Tricep kickback, yep.
Yeah, both of those you're going to be using fairly small weights for. I'm actually impressed with the weights that you are using
Yeah.
for those. They're not super low relative to how difficult those exercises can be. I would say even specifically for women who just have smaller upper body musculature. I don't know if she works out from home only. I don't think she said it. These are obviously dumbbell exercises. So I'm assuming she's using just like the dumbbells that she has access to at home. Something that I would recommend trying if you're not really progressing much more through those exercises is to change the variety of whatever that shoulder or tricep exercise is. So if you have access to a cable column, can you try a cable lateral raise? Can you try a banded lateral raise? For the tricep kickback, can you try a cable push down or some other variation of lateral raises or some other variation of that tricep kickback so that you can further develop strength within different areas of the muscle, and then you might progress further through the other types of exercise.
And the tricep kickback in particular, like you pick two isolation movements for two small. I mean, tricep it's a bigger muscle on the upper body in regards to like forearm, bicep, but it is more unstable. So depending on how you're doing them, you can create additional stability. So a lateral raise you could potentially do seated. A tricep kickback you could actually do with your chest on an inclined bench and just pivot over close to parallel and really focus on keeping your upper arms, your elbows tucked in like in that same position. The issue that kind of comes about for both of those in particular is you can tend to use some momentum. So if we are utilizing momentum to get to a specific rep range, the weight might be too heavy to begin with. And it feels more difficult than it should be to progress because we're not actually locked in on that very specific and stable form. So like I know many people who would just stick at like 15, 20, 25 pounds for kickbacks forever because they're just changing the level of momentum they're using. So as they get stronger, maybe they're able to use less momentum. And now you're talking about three months down the road. Maybe you did progress because you're actually more isolated over the course of those 3 months, but you're still using those 10, those 15, those 20-pound dumbbells. So a couple different things you could play with there, even without full gym access, just to change the amount of stability that you're utilizing for those particular movements to get more of a steady baseline as far as what that progression is. And then again, they are isolation movements. So if it's, 1 extra rep, 2 extra reps before you go up to the next 5-pound dumbbell, that's also going to be something that you probably want to implement in that gray area.
You could also play around with tempo and just kind of slowing the tempo of those reps. And like that will be a version of progressive overload. So with that, reminder that progressive overload and progressing through an exercise is not just increasing the weight. It could be increasing the reps, increasing the sets, increasing the tempo, increasing the range of motion. So keep that in mind. You likely are progressing, just maybe not by way of weight.
I feel like that's still such a common thought that people think progressive overload is only weights, and it's not. There are many ways you can make progress. All great points, guys. All right. Melissa said, thanks for answering my question last week. She asked us about the cold showers and cold exposure. She's been in a deficit for about 8 weeks now. Her weight has stalled for the last 2 weeks or so. So body composition has changed, but so far the scale has only dropped around 7 pounds. Right now, I have my protein at 0.95 grams per pound of her body weight, and her calories around 1750. She lifts 3 days per week, does 3 cardio sessions along with daily walks. I'm hesitant to go lower than that due to having 2 small kids and working full time. How would you suggest lowering calories? Would I keep my protein the same and lower carbs? Thank you for all your help.
Hey guys, real quick. If you've been listening and thinking, I need to start doing something for my health, but I don't have time for a full program, that is literally why we built the SDE Method app. It's a fitness app made for real people with real lives. Busy parents, working professionals, anyone juggling 100 things. You can get a smart, effective workout in around 30 minutes, some even closer to 20 minutes, and log out knowing you made progress. You can finally take the guessing out of your workouts. We have workouts designed to be done at the gym or at home, and you get access to all of them when you sign up. As life phases change, you can pick a new one that aligns better with what you have going on right now. And one more thing, we are also qualified for HSA FSA reimbursement. So just hit the app link in the show notes, start where you are, we'll help with the rest. All right, let's get back to the show.
Can I first just say 7 pounds in 8 weeks is fantastic, and I wouldn't necessarily be in a rush to drop calories yet.
Yep.
I can appreciate that she's saying it's been 2 weeks. I tend to err on longer before I would make a calorie change. I'm on like the 2 to 4 weeks side of things. If after 4 weeks and you've been really consistent and you have that same, you're hitting the calories you're supposed to be hitting, you're getting the protein, you're getting the sleep, you're, doing the cardio and lifting sessions, and after 4 weeks, then you're not necessarily seeing those changes, then I would maybe make a little bit of a calorie cut, but I would not be so quick to cut those calories yet, because 7 pounds in 8 weeks is fantastic progress. That's a great rate of loss.
Yeah, this is where all that nuance comes in, right? With adjusting your macros and with fat loss. It's not just this clean cut of, oh, I didn't see progress for 2 weeks, I'm immediately going to lower calories. But you're asking all the right questions, Melissa, and you gave us all the context, which we appreciate. But I agree, if you were my client, I would wait a little bit longer, especially because you're hesitant to go lower, just from a mental standpoint and just energy wise, likely with having 2 little kids and working full time. So I would just ride that train as long as you can, even if the scale isn't dropping immediately and you're seeing body comp shifts. Like, that's really what most people, and I would assume what you are after anyways. So ride it out.
From a general sense, though, you did ask, like, how would I go about it? So, you want to keep protein the same. We're not trying to slice protein down. If anything, some people come in with lower protein from a bulk or maintenance, and they actually increase protein during a deficit. So depending on where your fats are, you could pull directly from the carbs. If your fats are higher and you feel better lowering a little bit of both, you could do that as well. It comes down to preference and, again, how you're responding. So it's a little bit of trial and error to figure out your biofeedback based on specific manipulations. But in a very straight sense, yes, there's a very good chance that you're just going to be reducing the carbs.
All right, Lindsay said she's running her first marathon Sunday. Yay, that's exciting. Putting together a playlist. Would love if you all shared your favorite hype songs /playlist. Thanks, love this podcast and all the things I get to take away. Well, good luck for your marathon. First things first. Hype songs, playlist. I'm honestly team, like, let Spotify curate it for me lately. Like, I just pick like the ones that are pre-made. I think we always do that, whether it's for our breakfast mix or for workouts. But like, they have some good like throwback 2000s mixes, and like, I don't know, I've been on like a Chris Brown circa early 2000s.
Chris Brown, Lil Dicky.
No, not that one. I don't like that one.
I go like the pop punk, like Fall Out Boy, Blink 182. Those are my favorite throwback pump up songs. I'm not gonna lie, I was deadlifting this morning and Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne came on, and I was so into it. So into it.
See, for
I'm
runs
like
too,
humming at the gym like, she was Skater Boy. I'm like, you sound ridiculous.
It's funny, like for lifts, I need more like intense, like,
okay,
like I'm gonna lift some heavy shit stuff. But like when I'm running, well, I'm saying like when I'm running, I like the throwback jams. Like I like music that like brings me back to a time of my life, or like, you know, you can just like zone out and listen to these songs and think about life. Like,
yeah, it's such a preference thing. Like I've heard some people say they'll listen to like a podcast while they're running. I could never. I would need like music blasting in my ears for sure.
I can run in silence. I can run with the podcast. I can run with music.
That's psycho behavior.
It is. I used to make fun of kids for driving without. Killer. Well, wait for it. There's a couple serial killers. I'm in a wicked rotation, so I will lift. I cannot run in silence. That I cannot do. I need to zone out for running.
Oh, just listening to your own breathing.
And then
vom.
Yeah, no, it's so peaceful.
No, it's not. Nobody likes running. So good luck.
Tell me you're an overstimulated mom without telling me.
No, but that's what I was going to say. I didn't really like running in silence until after I became a mom. It's just like something about like
the silence feels nice.
I actually just run around the corner and sit down on a rock for 45 minutes, and that's my cardio.
So that's why it takes forever.
Yeah, I can lift in silence. I can lift in a podcast, and like the podcast will be it'll be a spiritual podcast or a business podcast or a hybrid podcast. Right? Like I can go that route. Occasionally, I like me some MGK, little MGK radio. I can get into that. I can go kill Rob Bailey. Rob Bailey is like the Rob Bailey gym playlist. He's like, it's not death metal. It's some more aggressive rock, and like he's very poetic though. This is Dana Lynn Bailey's husband. It's like very deep, very poetic, hardcore rock, which I love. I've gotten out of the rap.
Ironically, Josh, is it still your morning alarm song? But like he would pick one of Rob Bailey's like screamo like metal.
You said specific song. It's not screamo metal. Go listen to Beast, not the remix, for Southpaw, because that one has
I do like that one. I don't know.
I don't like that one. I like the original version with Rob Bailey and the Hustle Standard.
But like, imagine like waking up in the morning to this.
It literally says, "When the sun rises, I wake up and chase my dreams."
Screaming.
Literally starts with that.
It's intense to open your eyes to. I will say that, and I made you change it. So.
That one, and then Outwork as well. It's kind of like an Asian restaurant jingle, but it's I'm at work, everyone around me. It's
what a range.
while being like hardcore rock.
Well,
Tune
Lindsay,
in. You're gonna like it.
I don't know if you got anything from that, Lindsay, but
good luck.
Yeah, we wish you luck on your marathon. Okay, Lauren, you asked us about something that was talked about on another podcast, and unfortunately, we don't have the time to listen to that at this moment. But
she did ask about aminos.
It was about amino acids, so I think we can touch on our thoughts on that.
Yeah, so she said, would love to hear your opinion, pros, cons on amino acids. So let's just talk about amino acids real quick, because I think this might be important to clear up. So anytime you hear about protein, what we are talking about is amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein. So even before we dive into like what I think you're talking about is like an amino acid supplement, like essential amino acids or branched chain amino acids. But by even just defining what I mean by amino acids being the building blocks of protein, what I want you to recognize right off the bat is that if you are consuming enough protein in your diet, you are likely getting all of the amino acids that you need. There are 20 different amino acids that your body needs to function correctly, but 9 of them are essential, which means that the other 11 your body makes, but the other 9 you need to make sure that you're getting through food. So kind of coming back, if you're consuming enough protein, you very likely don't need an amino acid supplement. There are some circumstances in which maybe I would say an essential amino acid, but that would be like you're under fueling, you're not getting enough protein, you're training fasted, like
maybe a vegan or
like maybe need additional amino acid support, specifically with like leucine if you're not having meat. But I would say like right off the bat, if you're consuming enough protein, probably don't need it.
Agreed. It used to be like the supplement back in like 2010, and everyone would have their what was that brand called?
Extend.
That
was the one I used.
Scivation Extend. Extend.
It was good. It was delicious. It made your water taste good, but it was an expensive flavor to taste.
Yeah, expensive flavored water for sure.
But yeah, definitely not necessary.
Also potentially meal spacing, like if you're going 5-6 hours between meals for whatever reason and you're throwing that in a water bottle, potentially. But again, most important thing, if you're getting enough protein in, at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. And the additional funds going towards EAAs, I wouldn't even say, I say BCAAs are a total waste of money, but EAAs specifically, where you're actually getting the muscle protein synthesis happening, potentially very few use cases.
All right. Jamie said, do you all wake up at the same time every day, even if you don't have a workout scheduled? That was the first one. So why don't we answer that first? I would say give or take within like 45 minutes. Like if I'm sleeping in, if I'm sleeping in, it's usually no more than 45 to an hour. But I do prefer just waking up at the same time every day.
I mean, I prefer getting an extra hour of sleep if I can, like on a rest day. And I'm not waking up at 5. I look forward to that extra hour. But from a research perspective, you do want to keep your sleep and wake cycles within an hour.
And then her next question is, what is your pre-workout morning routine? I heard you say you don't drink caffeine, etc., but then do you do anything special or just get dressed and go? Walk us through start to finish, Joelle. What do you do?
I think you eat first, don't you? I just do apples, like 1 or 2 applesauce packets. So for me, I get some water in. I pretty much wake up, feet to the ground, drink my electrolytes. Not like my whole thing, but just drink some water. Have 1 or 2 go-go squeezes, which are just applesauce packets, and then I just go.
Yeah.
And then I'll eat a full like meal, protein shake, etc. when I get home. But I think you might eat first.
Depends on what I'm doing. So the other day I trained fasted by accident because I just forgot and I actually felt fine. So that was interesting. But typically I will have my little That's It bar or a go-go or some type of quick carb source. I actually been putting it in the bathroom. So like as soon as I get up, I walk into my bathroom and I eat that. And while I'm getting ready, that way I got a few extra minutes to digest. But I typically eat that, drink some water, get dressed, and I'm out into the gym within probably 15 minutes of me waking up just in this season because time is, you have to be efficient with your time with a baby. You pretty much just wake up and go for your run, right?
Wake up, journal, do like a 2-minute, 3-minute stretch, and I'm out. And that's if I'm lifting or if I'm running. I'm fasted, so I guess slightly different protocol. I'll have some either salt or an actual element packet, and then I'll do the non-stim pre-workout from Legion if I am lifting. If I'm not lifting, I'll do like a little crunch of Himalayan sea salt, throw that down in a glass of water, and I'm out on my run.
I was laughing. Coach Tom shared that his pre-workout is maple syrup. And I'm like,
Buddy the Elf.
It's so random, but like, I mean, it's carbs.
It's quick carbs.
It's quick carbs. I feel
quick
like
carbs,
some syrup.
easy to digest.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
And then her next question for us, last question, she said, do you follow intuitive eating? How does that change during different times of your life? Meaning, do you at times switch from macro tracking to something else, and why?
I would say I've been the intuitive route for the last probably 5-6 years. I macro tracked for a long time and I don't really feel a need to do it these days anymore. There are circumstances in which I might loosely track, like if I were in a deficit phase and I just wanted to be a little bit more precise with what I'm eating, then I might go through like a few weeks of tracking or loosely tracking. And on the opposite of this end of the spectrum, if I don't think I'm needing enough and I need just that extra visual of me seeing the numbers, so I have that extra cue of like, okay, even though I'm not that hungry, I didn't have enough carbohydrates today, or I didn't have enough protein today, let me make an extra protein shake before bed or something like that. So I would say for me, I might lean into a macro tracking season for fat loss, or with just trying to get in enough calories, which has been more so my issue in the last few years. So yeah, different seasons, something to lean on. It's a great tool to have in the toolbox, but not something that I'm utilizing right now in this season. Strictly, at least.
Takes brain calories to track, and that's not a bad thing. There are certain seasons where it's definitely more necessary. The last 3 years for me have been primarily intuitive eating, and I'm also able to bulk and cut eating intuitively just on having tracked for so long, understanding portion sizes, being really in tune with my biofeedback, what my hunger cues are, where I need to be in regards to those to lose fat, to build muscle. So I will consistently weigh in. And if I hit a speed bump where I feel like things aren't really changing, I'm not performing great, I'm not gaining weight at the rate that I want to, or losing it at the rate that I want to, or leaning out at the rate that I want to, then I might jump into a more extended tracking experience. Joelle, your camera's giving me a seizure. But other than that, I feel really good about where I'm at eating intuitively.
The last time I've tracked daily for like an extended period, like a couple like months on end, was back in 2020 when I did like my first fat loss phase post having Kai, baby one. And I haven't tracked every single day for an extended period of time since then, but I definitely have, like right now I'm tracking macros probably 3 or 4 times per week, just to make sure I'm consuming enough food for adding exercise back in postpartum. And I did the same thing with Cora. Throughout both pregnancies, though, it was kind of just like checking in here and there just to make sure I was, eating optimally for that season. But it's been kind of just, again, checking in to make sure things are good, and then eating intuitively, or I like to say mindfully rather than intuitively, because it took work to get to this point where I know how to eat. And it's still, I'm not just eating and listening to my body in the sense where, oh, I feel like I want this right now, I'm going to eat this. Like, there is still a lot of mindfulness and intention with what meals that I'm eating and how I choose my meals. And the way that I eat, whether I'm tracking or not, does not change. I think that's a big thing, is like, I'm eating the same way I would as if I was tracking. It's just I'm not actually physically using the app, because I don't need to do it every day at this point after doing it for so long.
I'm glad you mentioned eating mindfully and not just intuitively, because I also think it's hard for people to hear that, A, if they're struggling with dieting, and B, if they've never had macro tracking experience, because you might want to mindfully eat a Big Mac and a large fry. So, or rather intuitively eat a Big Mac and a large fry. And so I like the spin on mindfully, because I think it still allows you to be mindful about your nutrition and not just oh, I intuitively want to eat a pint of Ben and Jerry's. So I like that distinction. But I think that the reason that us three are not allowed are
You are not allowed.
Capable. I can't think of the word I was trying to think of, but essentially capable of eating mindfully, so to speak, is because we have that tracking experience where we know roughly what we need to perform well, to recover well, to feel good, whether that's digestively or, with our sleep or performance recovery, everything else. So I think when people have the goal of wanting to eat, quote, intuitively or mindfully, it's likely that you'll need a tracking season before that to learn what you need to learn, so that you have the mindfulness in a non-tracking season.
I agree. So hard. All right. Anything else, Josh?
No.
Okay.
Listen, if you're tired of the all or nothing cycles, the diet starts Monday, the I know what to do, I'm just not doing it feeling, we should probably talk. Our one-on-one online coaching isn't just about workouts and meal plans. It's about building something that actually fits your life. No cookie cutter templates, no guilt, just real coaching and real results. Plus, we've got a pretty big team, so we can even pair you with an expert who actually understands your lifestyle, because they've gone through it too. If that sounds like what you've been missing, check out the link in the show notes to apply for coaching. Then we'll send you the link to book a free, no obligation consult call with our team. There are no hard closes. We won't even take your credit card over the phone. You'll get the details to sign up on your own time. And more good news, we are in fact qualified for HSA FSA reimbursement. One last thing, we even offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. What are you waiting for? Spots are limited, so apply today. All right, let's get back to the show.
Katie said, top tips that Alessandra and Joelle would recommend in the second and third trimesters to be as healthy as possible. Right now, I'm only able to get to the gym for 30 minutes Monday to Friday before work. Appreciate their top tips. Love listening to the podcast. Thank you. Well, for most people, the second trimester is typically when you feel your best throughout pregnancy. I personally, at least this past pregnancy, felt my best in the first trimester, and then it just kind of went downhill from there, just due to obviously body changes, hormonal shifts, all the things. But I mean, you said you're able to get to the gym for 30 minutes 5 days per week. I think that's great.
That's fantastic.
That's incredible. So ride that out as long as you can. But as far as just being as healthy as possible, it all comes back to the L5 method, honestly. And the L5 method is something you can implement in all seasons of life. I posted a video on TikTok a couple weeks ago, just discussing the top 5 things that I'm doing to have a hot mom summer. And I got a couple comments that were oh, I wish I could do this, but I'm pregnant. And I was like, well, you can. I did this throughout my whole pregnancy. It was nothing crazy. And it was literally just pulling from the L5 method. So training, nutrition, mindset, movement, and habits. And I outlined what I'm focusing on in each of those things. And it's not you can implement those same things pregnant or not, because health is not dieting. Health is not doing crash diets. Health is not doing these extreme things to have a hot mom summer. It's literally just living a healthy lifestyle. And I think that tends to be like news for a lot of people, I guess.
Yeah, it's always interesting. I feel like when you and I, Alessandra, post about something like that, either we're doing during pregnancy or postpartum, that to your point, someone saying, oh, I wish I could do that while pregnant. It's like you can. There's this misconception that there's just a general misconception that health and fitness is associated with dieting. And like, there's so much more to health, fitness, exercise, nutrition, eating mindfully than just, I want to be in a smaller body, or like, I want to be leaner, or I want to lose weight. It's great if you have that goal, but there are seasons, like really it shouldn't feel like seasons of different health and fitness, because it really should just be lifelong. Like I know when we've posted, like transformations in the past of maybe like us 9 months pregnant versus us 9 months postpartum. Like, how did you do that? What did you do? It's like, I just did all the same stuff that I've been doing for the last 12 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is. And so it sounds like she is in an awesome spot. She's training, regularly. Keep doing that. Like the best thing I could say is keep doing that, and give yourself some credit for what you are doing. Cause I'm pretty sure I heard an only in there of like, I can only get to the gym 5 days a week for 30 minutes. Like that is fantastic. You are doing 99% more than the average American, and you're pregnant.
Yep.
So I would say keep doing what you're doing. You may find that in your second and third trimesters, depending on how your first trimester felt. Alessandra and I were kind of swapped, I would say, with that, where like the first 20 weeks I'm miserable. And then after that, I feel great all the way up through birth. But you might find that in your second and third trimester, your fatigue and energy levels are a little bit more inconsistent. Like you might have days where like, wow, I feel like such a badass, so strong, pregnant mama, muscle mommy. And then you might have other days where you're like, I feel like I've never worked out a day in my life. Yep. I feel like I have the strength of an 8-year-old girl. So I would say expect that a little bit in more like second and third trimesters. But keep doing what you're doing in terms of training, taking care of yourself, resting when you can, and pushing through when you can.
Agreed. All right. Jenna said, I'm currently following the Postpartum Forever program. She's 6 weeks postpartum with her second, and she's loving it. I'm noticing such a difference from my first postpartum experience. I love that. I want to start returning to running too, and was wondering if you could recommend any specific exercises or anything I can add to help make sure I'm ready for running, or would following the program as it is be enough? I'm starting at the beginning here with running, as I haven't run since before getting pregnant, but prior to that I was running 3 to 4 miles a few times per week, and I'm missing it. Thank you. So honestly, follow the program. Dr. Jen and I incorporated a variety of exercises that will help you return to running, knowing that a lot of moms do enjoy running and stroller running and all that. So if you can complete the program first and foremost, that's number one thing I recommend. As far as how to get back to running, you're definitely going to want to take it much slower than ever before. Just because, running is high impact, and it can be a little tricky to navigate if you do have pelvic floor symptoms or, just post-birth in general. So I would suggest the Begin program, honestly, because it is a walk-run program. It's kind of like our Couch to 5K program, and it does include intervals of walking and running, and it will kind of set you up for success as far as taking it slow and being able to manage symptoms and kind of test the waters, see how you feel and all of that. But I would definitely continue the strength stuff. Strength stuff has to come first, and then as you incorporate those beginner plyos and all the things we have in there, you're going to set yourself up for the best success when it comes to running.
I think these guys might be shaping some additional tools we can add to a postpartum freebie. A lot of postpartum questions.
Interesting. Okay. Emily said, not exactly a question, but any suggestions for easy to throw together high protein, high fiber meals would be great. Thank you. Go to my Instagram.
I was going to say, check me on Alessandra's Instagrams. We've been posting more nutrition content lately. Save those meal ideas.
Yep. We will continue to post more there. It's hard for us to like give you meal ideas here, but visually.
Easy. I will do it. I won't direct
All
you
right.
to my Instagram account.
Go ahead,
Go
Josh.
ahead.
Traffic.
Go take it away.
Go ahead.
Take
Make
it
sure
away.
you're writing this down, Emily.
Write it down, Emily.
Make sure you're taking notes.
Take notes, Emily.
Don't save our Instagram post. Just take notes from Josh right now.
Don't save it.
Go ahead, Josh.
If you,
I know. Are you
Drop
going to
the
give her
knowledge
the?
I'm trying not to laugh. If you guys are building around your protein and plant like we've been talking about anyway, like it should come in higher. If you're not tracking higher than you think it is anyway. But I kind of rotate a couple different things in. One of my highest fiber meals is actually like my sneak in between meal. Like I'll have a real breakfast, a real lunch, and like in between that or post real lunch before dinner, I'll do a protein shake, but I'll throw in chia seeds, flax seeds. I'll do a little bit of psyllium husk powder added to that. And then I do a bowl of oats. I'll do cacao powder, cinnamon, maple syrup, raisins, and a little bit of peanut butter. And with that, like I think I've talked about, my aunt makes these granola balls that are awesome. And this is like the closest thing that I've found to that. And it's something I really look forward to. It's a tiny little thing, but makes me really happy in the middle of the day. Ends up being super high fiber. So that's one of my current go-tos. And then when we have the broccoli sprouts that are sprouted, I'll throw those into the shake as well.
Also, go to Coach John's Instagram page. He's been posting some quick, easy, high protein, balanced meals that literally anybody can make. So, what's the series called?
It's not cooking. It's just mixing.
Just mixing stuff.
I think he's got a cookbook coming out next month too.
Yeah,
He's
so
working
go
on a
follow
cookbook
John.
for it. Yeah.
All right. Juna said, was too late last week, so that's why I'm reposting. Perfect. Yeah, if you guys post after we record, we unfortunately miss it. We should probably go back and see if we have some more, but I know a couple of you did. So she said, I got pregnant at a BMI of 18. I'm now 36 weeks and gained only 4 kilograms in total, eating around 2,500 calories per day at the moment, mostly plant-based with the exception of a hard-boiled egg. I'm still very lean. Physically, I feel great. Still able to do my daily workouts, walk, bike, etc. But I'm afraid I won't have a good milk supply or lose even more weight when I will be breastfeeding. Should I stop exercising? Any tips or things I can do to improve my chances of being able to breastfeed my daughter? This is my first child, by the way. I don't know if you can give any advice on this, but all input is very much appreciated. Thank you guys. Don't stop exercising. Don't.
Yeah, I was just going to say, don't stop exercising because that would be counterintuitive. I would very much recommend likely increasing your protein. Probably calories overall. What you're going to find during breastfeeding is that your caloric expenditure is going to be even higher than it is right now during pregnancy. So if you're roughly maintaining on 2,500 calories, it's likely, especially, I mean, she's late third trimester now. That's when you're closer to about 500 calories extra per day. And then breastfeeding, it could be anywhere from 500 to like 1,500 extra calories per day. So I would be prepared to eat. Being plant-based mostly, it's going to feel like a lot of volume of food because like 3,000 calories, 3,500 calories in plants is just, it's going to feel like a full-time job and you're going to feel full and satiated from that. I don't know how open you are to other protein sources. If you are typically the plant-based route, I'm not going to tell you to go like pound some ground beef. But your
heavier diet of nuts, some higher concentration in fats through the plants.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would just keep in mind that your protein needs right now are even higher during pregnancy and they will remain high during breastfeeding. So, I don't know how. Keep in mind, yes, the choline from the hard-boiled egg is great, but that's getting you about 6 grams of protein. So if it's literally one hard-boiled egg that you're getting that protein from, in addition to your plant sources, which I know you can rack up a good amount, but I would just be really mindful of your protein and probably increase calories overall.
Take some shots of olive oil.
That's not helping with the protein.
Didn't you say calories?
Yeah, but
Calories.
protein.
Well, I'd say calories,
She's
yeah.
eating 2,500, so it's not like
Yeah,
she's
it's a
under
lot of
eating.
food.
Yeah. Is there, Joelle, is there a correlation between, I know obviously protein is so important for growing humans and milk supply, but like as far as milk supply and protein, I'm not super familiar with the research on that, if there's any at all, but I'm interested, like, is there a correlation between those two? Or
I
not
haven't
really?
seen anything on milk supply and protein. I haven't specifically dug into it. I've never heard of
Yeah.
anything on that. I could take a look, do a
I'd
good
be
old
interested.
PubMed search, but I would say majority of what I've seen is just calorically overall for milk supply.
All right. Jess said, this was also posted last week. Sorry, Jess, we likely recorded first, but she's newer to the app. She's doing the prenatal program, 14 weeks, and coming from doing 5 days per week, 45 minutes of pretty aggressive strength training. I can't help but feel like I'm not pushing myself enough with the transition to the prenatal program. Is there a recommendation to supplement this program, or should I just get into the mindset that I need to slow down / ease up a bit during pregnancy? So my first thought here is that because it might be just a different style of strength training, that you're not pushing weights as hard as you could be. Like, you can still push the weights in the prenatal program. It's a hypertrophy program. Like, it's not, there's specific core work, and I've outlined things per trimester to make sure like you're not laying on your stomach and like you're doing things that make sense for each trimester, but you can still push the RPE to an RPE of 8. If you want to push weight a little bit more. That's my first thought, is that maybe you've lightened the weights a little bit and it just doesn't feel like it's doing much. But I also don't know. You said pretty aggressive strength training prior, so I'm not sure what you mean by that per se. I don't know if it was something like CrossFit or more of like I don't know, just different style of training. But that would be my suggestion, is don't be afraid to continue to push the weights to, 1 to 2 reps short of failure. Anything else?
Ditto.
Jordan said, I've been seeing quite a few videos of people saying compression leggings or shorts turn off, quote unquote, your abs. I feel like that's not real, but I figured I would ask.
I would say if we're starting to worry about our leggings, given our abs issues, then we're just missing the forest for the trees. That would be
Agreed.
my first
Agreed.
my first thought. I remember seeing something like years ago about it was like a chiropractor or something posting about, like your high-waisted leggings are ruining your core activation because your body is like relying on the leggings for stability. I don't know about you. I don't know anyone who's gotten a six-pack from their high-waisted leggings.
No.
So I haven't researched this topic heavily, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably not something that you need to worry about. I don't think it's not going to turn off your abs. That's like the claim. Just like, like your glutes are asleep. Like, no, they're not. You wouldn't be able to walk or sit.
Well, I was going to say, if your abs were turned off, you'd like fall, or like
just
you would have no
out of this chair right now in your high-waisted leggings.
Those have to be really tight leggings. You can have this conversation. Any kind of core support from leggings.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
Disregard.
And then she also asked, she said, I also work as a wound / ostomy nurse, and many of my ostomy patients think that with their bag they cannot work out. We know the opposite, that working out and walking and all activity should still be maintained, but I have trouble with resources to help explain how to brace their core, connect breathing, need to have good abdominal muscles to help prevent stoma prolapse. Have you guys ever had ostomy clients, and would you recommend the same things as you would for postpartum moms looking to re-engage with their abs? I personally have not had a client with this before. I'm not sure if we ever have in the grand scheme.
I have not personally had a client with an ostomy bag, but I have a family member very close to me with an ostomy bag who I give exercises to fairly frequently. For him, he is 83 for reference. We just want to get him moving in whatever way we can. Some of the things that we focus on with him is strength, endurance, and balance, just to keep him independent and make activities of daily living much easier. He's certainly not on the floor doing crunches, but getting up and walking, doing body weight squats. Those are all safe things that they could be doing. Even integrating a resistance band for some sort of strength training metric, or resistance training metric, just to have, Amazon resistance bands that they could order on the cheap, that they could stand up and do bicep curls, do overhead presses, do a squat with that resistance band. I don't even have him using resistance bands right now. We started with, let's sit and stand up from a chair. Let's practice that. Almost think of it like a box squat. And then I want you to sit and stand from the chair without pushing off on the arms of the chair. So use your arms for assistance at first if they need the quad strength, or the quad support, I should say. And then eventually we want to take the arms out. See if you could stand up and sit down from that chair without grabbing the armrests, and then practice doing that as your box squat. Then remove the chair and try a body weight squat without sitting down on that box, without having to touch your butt to the box. So I would just think about, depending on the age of the client and exercise experience, I would think about just regressing exercise until it can, be gradually built up. And then if they're in a position where they could add something like a resistance band or an actual weight, then they absolutely could. But I don't have any specific resources for like exercise and ostomy bags, but I would just, mostly in terms of limitations, just be aware of where that ostomy bag is, obviously. So they're probably not going to be doing a lot of crunches or prone lying exercises. But other than that, I would say most things are going to be fair game.
All right, we have a couple. That was the last one from this week, but there's a couple quick hitters we can hit on from last week that we missed. Amanda asked us, she said she's about a month behind on the podcast, but in episode 40, you discussed taking exercise to near failure. When form starts to suffer, is that when you should stop your set or push through until you just physically cannot do anymore?
Depends on the movement. I'd say something like a curl, you could even push further until you couldn't do it anymore. Like you get some forced volume there. Not ideal, but it's a nice addition. Something like a back squat, then yeah, once your form starts caving, that's probably it for you.
Bail.
You gotta be safe. Yeah. We answered these. Anonymous member 858 said, when I do my runs on a treadmill, I also use my indoor run app on my Apple Watch. No matter what pace I'm doing, the miles never match up and it drives me crazy. Do I go by the treadmill or my watch? This is a common question. As long as your treadmill is fairly new, like it's not ancient, you're always going to go by the treadmill because it's counting the how many times the belt like laps, and it's going to be more accurate than your watch, which is likely it's not using GPS on an inside run like that. Like on outside it's more accurate, but on inside it's going by like your arm swing. So in this scenario, you're going to always go by the treadmill, and then you should be able to calibrate. Like, I don't know if Apple Watch does this, but my Garmin, when I stop the run, it'll give me an option to calibrate, and I can input what the treadmill mileage was, and then it will save it as that, so it's accurate in my app. But yeah, as long as your treadmill isn't ancient, go by the treadmill.
So if I run with my hands straight down, I can trick my watch.
You try and let us know.
Yeah. we'll film that for you guys. That was it. That was all the questions.
Cool.
Where can they find you?
I'm at Alessandra Skutnik.
At Jabal Samantha.
I'm at Josh Skutnik.
Everything else you need is linked in the show notes.